I didn't know the difference between net and gross until I was 50 years old. I'm dyslexic. And yet we managed to build quite a big group of companies. I thought the gross was my profit and the net was my turnover. There are companies like Investec that do care about their society. There's an awful lot of companies in South Africa that don't care about the society, and they just say, well, that's the government's job. Yeah. It's not our job.
It's up to us as business to do a lot more to help uplift people.
The thing is, it does take, to transform a country in 50 months is an impossibility. I think the most important thing that you have about this new government is a leader who's honest. Feel a lot more confident investing in South Africa with him at the helm.
What we perhaps didn't factor in when we had Ramaphosa was the kind of devastation that took place. Now, I want to give you a few numbers. What was the GDP cost of, and I'll use a generic term, the Zupta era, to South Africa? So if we grew by what we were growing at, pre the crisis, which was 4.something%, we would have had an extra 1.3 trillion rand of GDP today. And when Tito would have been talking about his medium-term budget, we will be looking at rating upgrades. We can help this country grow. 18 months ago, if you said South Africa would win the World Cup, people would have laughed at you because we were so useless. I think we lost, I don't know how many games in a row. They changed the leadership. They had a very competitive team across the spectrum. It was well represented by, people from different backgrounds. And because we were a team, because we worked together as a team, we won the World Cup against the odds. So we as a society need to work together as a team.
Climate change, take as an example. I mean, we sat down with a small group of entrepreneurs, and we just brainstormed, if we were in government, what would we do to whip climate change which won't bankrupt our country? And I think have come up with ideas that can actually maybe sort out climate change. And we're now going to, talk to Cyril Ramaphosa and give them an opportunity to be the heroes in putting, what I think is quite a good idea into practice.
I mean, the first challenge is the schooling systems. And Investec runs a program called ProMaths, which it takes kids out of township schools and does an intervention from a Friday to a Sunday. And all of a sudden, these kids from failing dismally are getting A's for matric, B's and C's, as opposed to failing.
I mean, our feeling at Virgin Group is that if every company stopped asking people for exam results, then schools would have to reinvent themselves. They would have to turn people into human beings and look for all the other areas. My feeling is that there are people who are good at learning facts at school, and there are people who are not. The people who are really good at learning facts, maybe 10%, and the other 90% are not necessarily good at learning facts. It doesn't mean that they're going to be the better employee.
And so I don't think we can put it any more plainly than the science says. Empirically, it's proven that the more diverse and open you are to wider thought and acceptance and giving it voice, the more competitive you will be.
Our company looks out and then looks back to the present, right? And I would say, if you really want to understand this, do Snapchat, because you can be a hippopotamus, you can be a monkey, you can be anything you want. And looking down the road, understand where it's going, because it'll give you a better perspective. Well, nobody's going to be pregnant. We're going to have our babies in, beautiful tanks, There's not going to be, genders like this. There's going to be, incredible fluidity. We're going to cross with robots. We're already doing that. If you have a knee that's, robotic knee or shoulder, you've done it already. You don't even realize. As a matter of fact, you've, in your phone, you have already married your phone. Yeah. So I'd say, don't think about yourself. Think about them. And I think that would do it. And put your arm around them. Put your arm, literally, and, have your lawyers there.
Just in case.
Put your arm around them, and you will get what you deserve.
Our vision is it's a place where it's easy to be yourself. And we underline the word easy. And I offer this as a way for leaders to think a little differently about diversity. Diversity is not about numbers and representation and having these groups. Yes, that is a component. Think about the individuals, the human beings in your environment, and consider how easy it is for them to be themselves. How much of themselves do they need to put aside in order to work in your space?
There's initially quite a fear of bringing young people into the workforce, because if you've got labor laws that make it difficult to get a person out, it can be tricky. Also, often youth are coming from very different backgrounds, their cultural gaps, educational gaps. But this idea of turning mentors into heroes, and a lot of those positions are seen to be successful if you prepare the company for young people coming in and saying, you're the hero here. You can transfer skills and learning. And after a few months, we have companies phoning into Yes who are very fearful about taking large numbers of youth on board. And they phone back and say, wow, they've just brought this fresh thinking. They pick up on new things so fast. They've taught us a few things on how to modernize parts of the business.
What would set your business apart is values. It's what your business values are. I think they will shape the kind of leaders you choose, and they will shape the kind of policies that you have. And with respect to diversity, if you approach it as an obligation and not as a place of opportunity, like just a wealth of untapped potential, then it's not going to work for you. But if you approach it with opportunity and a wealth of untapped potential, then you'll be able to hone the creative energies of all the individuals in that space to your benefit.
The economic backdrop, both here in South Africa and in the UK where we operate, is quite tough. But we bring a sense to our clients that we can find opportunities and we can back them, and we can manage the risks that are associated with the opportunities that we find. I think that's how progress occurs, when business people, entrepreneurs, and financial institutions like Investec back opportunity for progress.
People just don't know enough about Africa. I think Brits seem to know quite a lot about South Africa, but often we find beyond that, that knowledge level drops away. So it's sort of an upskilling in knowledge and information. I think there is a heightened perception of the risk of doing business in Africa. But what I do say to people is, if you're doing business pretty much anywhere else in the world, and you think that you can do that comfortably, you can also find places to do that here in Africa and do really good business.
I think we live in a world that is very disruptive by its very nature. So you have to embrace risk. You have to embrace different opinions. So at Investec, we have a very flat structure. We try to rely very much on the people that are on the ground, because they know best what trends are coming our way. So just that cultural mindset where we look for our people to bring us ideas.
I think artificial intelligence in the world is going to change not only business, but also the world in many ways. And when we look at business and efficiencies that you can get out of AI, I think that businesses who are not going to adopt artificial intelligence in the short to medium term are really going to struggle in the longer term to actually be competitive.
I think if you live in an area, or you have a business in an area, you really have to draw a circle around your business, and then you have to make sure that the schools, the clinics, all aspects are you care for, and your guests, say, to your hotel, care for, and you take them out there. And if and it's not just relying on government to do these things. Businesses everywhere should draw a circle around themselves, and then those circles will start overlapping, and you can start working with neighboring businesses to lift up the local community. Try to make school a place that people enjoy, where they learn about the real things that are going on in life. Where they can be in touch with nature, in touch with environment, a whole lot of different areas, and also where you can bring out the individual kids' passions, and so if it is maths and science, that you should go for that. But if not, you know, I think that for the other 90%, we should be allowed to do other things.